Hello and welcome to the Robot Wars review here on Ep4 2.0. It's been a while since I've done these videos, so bear with me. I believe it's best fight, worst fight scenario, so let's get straight on with this review. It's Heat D for death with too many spinners. So many spinners, it's unbelievable. Genuinely unbelievable. Thank you, intro. So, let's start with one of the teams that didn't do so well, and that is Frostbite. Frostbite are a plastic robot, and it's a miracle they got through that first heat. I'd say their best fight was the heat, just because they got through it. Their worst fight, by definition then, has to be the fight that they went out in, which was their first head-to-head. Supernova hit Frostbite. A massive chunk came out the side. Then they hit him again. Their actual weapon came off and flew off. And I think everybody was of the same belief of, something just came off there. Let's watch the replay back. Oh, okay, it was their weapon. There it goes. Yeah, Frostbite did explode into lots of icicles. So, never mind. They got replaced by Worm. Best fight? Did they have one? Let's say their best fight was the fight that they didn't get broken in, which was against Pulsar. Their best fight was Worm versus Pulsar, where they were down to 2 wheels at this point. Their drive was all wrong, even though they'd not rewired anything, and they had to use the remote control upside down just to drive it correctly. That, by the way, was... I could understand their disbelief. But we've not changed any of the wires. How's it done that? That's Scottish, by the way. Just mildly Scottish. Not full on... Worst fight was possibly round 1. Their heat. Their first melee. Whereupon they drove for 20 seconds, hit a wall and were immobilised. I mean, when you come back with a metal robot and do worse, you know you must be going the wrong way. So they're actually coming back next year with a styrofoam robot. No, they're not coming back next year. At least they'll survive. Yeah, poor old Worm. But they were a replacement for Frostbite, so that is a 2-in-1 for you, you lucky people. Next up, let's talk Supernova. I've mentioned them already. Let's just, for a moment, respect the voiceover person who goes, Supernova, spinner. Supernova, spinner. I love that guy, whoever he is. Mum has a suspicion it's actually Dara O'Brien, just being over the top. I think that'd be great. I also think it would be great if that was Noel Sharkey's real voice. Best fight was against Frostbite, wiped them out, I mean, completely. Worst fight... I don't know if they would call their fight against Pulsar their worst fight. Possibly because they were given the most damage and never really recovered from there. But it's a bit disheartening later on, so maybe against Ironside was their worst fight. I don't know how you would rate that. I'm going to go on damage alone, so let's say that Pulsar was their worst fight. Even though it had the most almighty bang you have ever seen. I mean, let's use Bronco, shall we? Bronco is now Supernova, and let's use Matilda's back end as Pulsar. They both go head on. Smack. Now, because Pulsar's a drum, it gets hit into the floor, which means the other robot gets flicked. Entered a new dimension, did old Supernova. I think it possibly was the worst fight for Supernova. Let's now talk about Pulsar. Poor old Pulsar, they built a whole new robot. And just to have it have so many technical difficulties this year. And it wasn't as such their fault. They worked so hard at getting it back in the arena. This episode really was fought more in the pits than it was in the arena. And it's, I mean, in a way, this is what the heart of the show, the reboot show, was meant to be. It was meant to be seeing more what was going on in the pits, how they were fixing the faults, how they were getting their robots back into the arena to fight, which is excellent. It's just a shame the fights had to suffer so much in this heat. So Pulsar best fight, I'm going to say, is against Supernova because of the amount of damage they caused Supernova, but they also caused themselves quite a lot of damage. I thought them, just talking briefly about a different fight, I thought them in the opening melee, when they go in to hit Apex, Apex sort of goes over the top, gets one hit, two hit, and then comes down again, and they just drive off, whereas Apex doesn't. I thought that was pretty impressive. Worst fight for Pulsar, I'm going to say the final, because they were so... They really did struggle to get it into the arena. Listening to Robocast, they really did struggle to get it back into the arena to fight, and to actually have it moving at all was a miracle. So, well done to Ellis for getting it back into the arena, and hope to see him back. Most controversial fight, which is a new category I'm adding to this review, is against Ironside. Now, can these two have a normal fight? The answer's yes, it was in the final, finally. But for the second time, they've had a controversial fight with Ironside. I'd like to see them two in different heats next time if they're both in. I'm not sure they both are. We've not had any confirmation of who's in and who's not, only what the teams have said, and I can't remember off the top of my head who is and isn't. So yeah, that's that. Ironside are the heat winners. Congratulations to them. Best fight has to be the heat final, where they finally get to show they are finalists. They can do it, and Ironside is a superb robot for it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have built what Ironside 2 looked like, which you may have seen if I did actually show it in the last... I did show it in the last More Robots video. Now, unfortunately for Ironside, I think their worst fight was the controversial fight against Pulsar, which I believe they should have won. I agree that they were still moving with Pulsar, but it wasn't controlled movement. I wouldn't class it as controlled movement. I again agree with the Robocast. If they'd have told them to power down their weapons and move about for 10 seconds, I don't think that Pulsar would have gotten any points there. So that's that fight. And again, most controversial is the same. So yeah, let's just briefly talk about those who didn't quite make the cut. We had Apex, who I've briefly talked about already, so I won't go into much more detail. Apparently they were a replacement. We had High Five, which is Smidsy's relative, which didn't do all that much, which is a shame, and I hope to see the team back, maybe with a different robot, or at least getting those front fingers working somehow. I still don't quite understand how they move, but there we are. We had Worm, who I've already talked about in this heat, so let's not mention them again. We had Crush Station. I used to love Crush Station. The fact that they could get a hold of Chaos 2 and pincer them with their grippy hand gloves. I thought back in like Series 6, I think they came in, that was new technology. That was groundbreaking, and it was really cool to see. Nowadays, it's a bit garage built, and it's still a lovely looking robot, but it's still a crab with a high ground clearance and 2 little pincers. So, and let's face it, they're not going to survive in a heat of spinners, so poor old them. And I think that's it, really. That's the heat. It wasn't the most overwhelming heat. There were some good bits, there were some poor bits, but I do think this was a heat fought more in the pits than it was in the arena. That's a fact, that's not an opinion. I won't give it a rating out of 10 because I shan't. So that's that for this review. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like. Do subscribe to my channel if you enjoy Robot Wars. I do Robot Wars videos occasionally, Marvel videos occasionally, other videos sometimes. And I shall see you next time for the next Robot Wars review. Goodbye. Whoa, it's a Robot Wars t-shirt.